welcome back. So this is our final video of the entire year. It's absolutely insane. I can't believe we're already here. This final video is about possibly the most important system of your body or of any animal's body, and that is the cardiovascular system. So that's basically two parts to that big long word, cardio and vascular. And it has to do with the parts that make up this system. Before we get to the parts, we gotta know what it does. So the cardiovascular system in any animal, this is from jellyfish to humans to ladybugs, all of us have the need to move things around in our body. Here's an example. How do you feed your pinky? Do you ever think about that? Like, your pinky is way out here. There's such a distance from my stomach where I get my food to all the way out here to my pinky. So how does this little thing stay alive? And the way that it does that is because it's connected to your cardiovascular system, which is like a gigantic transportation system in your whole body. So it takes things like nutrients, water, oxygen, hormones, communication messengers, immune cells, all these things around your body are taken there by the cardiovascular system. So its job is transportation, is moving things around. How does it actually do this? Well, the way that it works is by having tubes that carry liquid that are connected to every cell in your body. And the thing that actually makes the liquid flow through these tubes is your heart. So your heart is a large muscle in your chest that pumps constantly. And it pumps like a crazy amount of times per day. It's like hundreds of thousands. And its job is to push that liquid through the vessels or the tubes around your body. So it's kind of interesting because our blood vessels are kind of the same as the vascular tubes in plants. They have the same job. But for us, we need something to push that liquid through really fast because we like to move and do things because we are mobile animals. So the heart pushes that blood through the blood vessels. There's basically two kinds, and they have a slightly different structure because they do a different job. The first kind is arteries, and arteries are the blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart. So to any part of the body, but just away from the heart. And they are really standard. They're just tubes that can carry liquid, and they carry blood and all these different cells and things that are in the blood. The other kind is veins, and veins bring blood back to your heart. And veins have a different structure than arteries do. They actually have little valves inside of them. The reason for this is because by the time the blood has traveled all the way through the arteries and is coming back in the veins, the pressure from your heart is actually pretty low. There's not a lot of pressure forcing it through the veins. So your veins actually have these little valve things. So let's say we've got a blood vessel here, and there's blood flowing upwards. Let's say this is a blood vessel that's in your leg. So your leg has veins that carry blood back up against gravity up towards your heart. So there's not a lot of pressure forcing it back up. So what it has is these valves where every time your heart beats, a little bit of blood gets forced up. So when the blood gets forced up, boom, the valve opens. But as soon as the heart is resting, or like between beats, that blood wants to try and fall back down because it doesn't have a lot of pressure and gravity wants to pull it downwards. But as soon as it starts to fall down, the valve snaps shut. So you get little motions of the valve as the blood gets pumped upwards. And pretty much all veins have this sort of thing, this sort of extra valve structure, because of the fact that it's bringing blood back to your heart and doesn't have a lot of pressure. So you have arteries carrying blood away and veins bringing blood back to your heart. In the middle, there is a third kind of artery or blood vessel, but it's really really tiny, and they're called capillaries. But capillaries, their only job is to take the giant blood vessels that are bringing tons of blood and break them down into tiny little things that can actually reach your individual cells. So there are a few cells that aren't connected or very loosely connected, but pretty much every cell in your body has a direct connection to a capillary that's bringing blood to it. So these teensy tiny little capillaries carry the blood from your arteries to every single cell, and then they bring the excess blood back to the veins and take it back to your heart. However, there's an important function of blood that requires a special trip through the system. So the blood starts, let's say it starts in your heart and it leaves your heart. It's actually going to make a stop by the lungs first, because the blood needs to absorb oxygen, because every single cell needs oxygen a lot. Like, you will only last a few minutes without oxygen. And that's part of what our video about heart attacks is telling you, is that the cells around your heart especially need oxygen all the time. So the cell or the blood will leave your heart and go to the lungs through the arteries, come back to your heart through the veins from the lungs, bringing all kinds of oxygen in the blood. Then it will leave the heart again through big arteries and go all over your body, and then come back. And when it comes back, it's empty of oxygen, so it has to be pumped back to the lungs. So it goes heart, lungs, body, heart, lungs, heart, body. It's this rhythm that keeps it moving through your whole body. So that's pretty much it for the cardiovascular system. It's a transport system. So what kind of things does it carry? That's the last thing we should know. It carries oxygen, food, cells like blood cells, white blood cells, red blood cells, hormones, which are like chemical messages for your body, immune cells, and pretty much anything that would need to be transported around the body. But those are the big ones. So now you will be able to answer all the questions that go along with this video. I will see you in a Zoom call or next school year. Have a great summer.